Um, no, I was gonna say something to the effect of like, uh, I feel like the last time I got a little too drunk near the end,
Oh,
like
uh-huh.
during
That's
samcha,
the
that I
point,
didn't.
though,
I know
Megan.
that is the point. That I like didn't really round out my point, and I think like I like short-handed women and how like amazing women are because I was talking about like vanity and like weight and how like that's an insecurity and a struggle, but also at the same
Hmm.
time, women are fucking amazing and they like
Women are the
birth
best.
humans. Yeah, they
Yeah.
birth humans and they go through their periods and they house the wildest organs and like thinking about that makes me feel less insecure about like vanity and like
Mm.
thinking about
Mm,
vanity and vanity's sake.
hmm.
And so I feel like I just needed to come on here and think about that and say power to the woman and release some of that insecurity. And I
Women.
think
Cheers
that's
to
how
women.
we want
Women
to
are the
begin.
best.
Cheers.
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 Cheers to women.
Yum.
That's good.
Speaking of the wine,
Well,
Megan, do you want
yeah.
to tell us a bit about the wine we're drinking?
Ooh, yes. Okay, so today we are all drinking Scotty Boy. Guess who's coming to dinner?
So the reason we've all got this Scotty Boy who's coming to dinner wine is because this episode is sponsored by Glue Glue Gloss.
Thank you, Miss Glue Glue.
Yes, Glue Gloss, aka Megan, she is sponsoring this episode by providing us all with wine. She literally had the wine ordered at wine, what is it called again?
Therapy? Wine therapy?
Wine therapy. Oh, speaking of therapy, yeah,
Yeah.
wine therapy.
Wow.
How fitting. So she put in an order at Wine Therapy, which is a natural wine shop in like Lower Manhattan. So she put in an order for 2 bottles for me and Christine, and then she had one, back at her place in Seattle. So we are all drinking this wine today.
It's so delicious.
Yeah, it's so good. It's we get notes of grapefruit,
And
and
you
I'm
said
starting to also get some
cherry.
cherry now too, but kind of like artificial cherry, but in a good way.
So you know what I just realized is I think we might have a different year. So do you guys have 2021 or 2020?
2020.
I
Okay.
have, yeah, 2020.
So I have 2021. So I think there's
Oh, that's why yours is
more
dark.
maybe. Yeah,
Oh
I
my
think
God, we're
there's
drinking
more.
pandemic wines.
Oh, we are. You are right. There's
Wow.
more, I think, Grenache Noir in this. So this is a Grenache blend. It has Grenache Noir and Grenache Blanc. By the
Mm.
way, I don't know that much about wine. It's
Oh my God, you
unsolicited
know
and
so much.
unqualified
You know
advice,
enough.
okay? I know enough. I know enough to drink a lot of it.
Hmm.
So basically, it's so juicy and fun and like slightly effervescent because this wine, they do something called carbonic maceration. And usually like when you think of winemaking, you take a bunch of the grapes and then you like step on the grapes and you crush them and then you bottle it, right? Or you ferment it somewhere and then you bottle it. Well, this is you take the whole clusters of grape and you basically place it and in each grape it starts to ferment and like the heaviness
Oh.
of the fermentation kind of comes down basically by the weight of its own juices and fermentation.
Ooh, that's cool.
And so, yeah, that's why it's so juicy and lovely, and the color is so amazing.
Ooh.
They have a few different bottles, and I've probably tried most of them, and they're all really good. So, if anyone is looking for a juicy, fun, fresh wine, Scotty Boy.
The label of the wine bottle is this guy in a red shirt that says Berkeley on it with a very hairy mask and a lady sitting on his lap in a white one strap dress. So look out for that.
And I'm sure Megan will have some beautiful photos of it on her Instagram. So
Yeah.
That
go
I
check
will
it
do.
out.
And then we also wanted to pair this wine with a snack. I have a food blog that goes by Dear Saturdays, and I recommended that we have chipo today. And chipo is a um, dried file fish from Korea. It's fishy and it's sweet, it's dried, it's chewy. There's a lot of different textures to it. And the way that I recommended to prepare this chipo is to pan fry it in butter, and then cut it up, and then dip it into a sriracha mayo. And this has been my like go-to kind of anju snack while I'm drinking. So all of us here today are having a little bit of chipo and a little saucy dip alongside the chipo.
So our
So
drink is
good.
sponsored by Glue Glue Gloss, and our snack is sponsored by Dear Saturdays on this
Woo!
episode.
Now I
Just
think we
for
can get the
fun.
episode started.
Mm-hmm.
You can also air fry it, which is also another game changer. But
Mm.
I don't know if everyone has an air fryer, but I know most of everyone has a flame in a pan. So,
And also, I am vlogging this week, speaking of content. So I'm vlogging. I've got my camera set up on the side just to capture some like B-roll. But yeah, so go check out my YouTube channel too for more content,
all the content,
all the content.
the
All
best
right.
content.
Okay, I guess on that note, just a reminder of our structure. Samcha means third round or round three. So our conversation is going to have 3 rounds. We're going to continue drinking our wine and eating our chipo throughout each round. And as we mentioned, today's topic is content fairies because we all create content online other than this podcast. Let's head into Ilcha, round 1. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers!
Cheers,
Cheers!
guys.
How did you get into creating this type of content? Because all of us have different niches. There's very little overlap. Christina, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I have a YouTube channel. Right now, I post videos about consulting because I'm a consultant as my day job, and career advice, but I also post lifestyle and travel videos. Basically, I just post like whatever I want. But I started my channel really started regularly posting back in 2016 when I was in grad school in London and I was filming Week in My Life vlogs while I was in London. And I really just wanted to document my time there. And I was just sending those video links to like, I had a whole list of emails and I just like BCC'd and sent them to my friends and family. So that's how I got started. So I've been posting regularly for like 6 years now.
I miss those London vlogs.
I know, me too.
I sometimes watch your like early day videos and I'm like drooling all the time because I felt that you were like exploring like so many different types of foods. Like the vintage ones, the vintage videos.
The original like chili, you like cutting up the chili video, the
My
ingredients
vegan
to chili.
chili.
Do you remember that? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you were in like your dorm, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and then the
Mm-hmm.
In
dorm
London.
kitchen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember that.
How about you, Megan? We all know that you love wine, but what inspired you to create this channel where you share your love of wine and good food?
So, yeah, I just started exactly because of that, because I drink a lot of wine and I like a lot of wine. I just felt like, I just want to post about it. And it kind of started out like literally just as simple as that. And then, kind of, when I was doing a little bit of research into different wine content, and especially like in the natural wine space, I felt like there wasn't a lot of like really approachable pages or like content creators. Like it was still really scary because I think wine, when someone says like, oh, they're into wine, it like feels very fancy and it feels really like stuffy, and it can be because there's like, there's a whole world out there of like fine wines and things like that. But I think when it comes to natural wine, it's like supposed to be really approachable and really easy. And I didn't really see a lot of that. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I think if I came from a place of like unsolicited, unqualified, I think Christina first like said those words to me.
I think
I
I was
forget, like when I was first starting.
Yeah, I think we were also inspired, or I was inspired by Anna Faris's podcast, which is called Anna Faris is Unqualified. So I think it
Yes.
was like half from there, and then like the unsolicited just like goes with the unqualified, and yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at my like Instagram page or Glue Glue Gloss's Instagram page, you'll see that like that's the first thing I write. And so like yes, I am unqualified. I am this is unsolicited advice. But it's I drink enough of it where I feel like if you were looking for something, or if you like maybe saw a bottle that you were scared to pick up, but like I featured it or something like that, like it can make it a little bit more approachable from someone who doesn't have a certificate or is not a SOM or anything like that. So yeah, I think it just started with me drinking a lot of wine and liking wine. So I felt the need to create some content around it.
And it's so aesthetic. I think like Megan is like the purveyor of like fine aesthetics and wine and food. So she'll like go on these adventures where she'll like forage for mushrooms with her partner and they'll cook it so aesthetically in nature or like back at home. So if you're in the mood for like calming, therapeutic, aesthetic, like fine, natural wine vibes, like you need to check out Megan's channel.
Aw,
That's my
coming
take on
from
it.
Christine, that's
I
amazing. That's
know,
major. So
right?
thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
Speaking of
talking about
food.
aesthetic, yeah, speaking of food and speaking of aesthetic, Christine, tell us a little bit about your content.
Okay, I can talk about my content. I started my blog in 2017 when blogs were still like a thing. And I remember like coming fresh out of a breakup and I needed to like channel my time and energy into um, something like a creative endeavor. I wanted to use my hands, get my mind off of what was going on in my day to day. And so, one thing that I found a lot of comfort in is food and cooking and using my creativity. So, that's kind of like the genesis of Dear Saturdays. And now it's kind of transpired into a lot of other things where I just do creative projects and it's mostly centered around food, but there's also lifestyle and home decor and just like fun things in like my day-to-day life just to kind of keep the people who have engaged and kind of been along for the ride, giving them like insights and a glimpse into like my day-to-day life.
When you're hungry, do not go to
Do
dearsaturdays.com.
not come to Dear Saturdays if you're hungry.
Do not if you're hungry. I
Unless you've
am
got a fully
warning
stocked
you.
kitchen.
Yeah, yeah, you have been warned.
So I thought it would be fun to do some trivia. We kind of talked about this in the last episode about how I'm like the historian of the friend group. So I
Hmm.
was just like, what's something fun that we could do like related to our content? And I started thinking about like random trivia about each of our our pages, channels, whatever. I also did not like fully fact check all of these, so we'll see. Okay, so question number one, what was Christine's food blog before it was called Dear Saturdays? Do, 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 do. Do, do, do,
What is the Christine Hahn blog?
I'm sorry, that is not the right answer. Christine, what is the answer?
Sawi, maybe you have a different answer in mind, but it first started as an account called Fay Alaman, which is like made with the hands. But I was listening to a sermon and it was about the significance of Saturday. And I felt like I was in the Saturday of my life. And that's why I called it Dear Saturdays now. And I think it's very fitting and appropriate because I'm in the Saturdays of life, I guess, like generally. So Fay Alaman, that's Dear Saturdays.
Yay!
All right, I'll do the second question. When did Christina post her first YouTube video and what was it? Megan, do you know?
Well, you said 6 years ago in your intro. So is it that? But then I feel like you have some older ones when you look like a little baby.
I still look like a baby.
Was
I
it like
think
a
I might.
Korea? Was it
So
your
there's
Korea trip?
Korea. What is that what you were gonna say, Christine?
So I think it was like the summer after we graduated college. You went to Korea, or like very soon after we graduated. We went to Korea. You went to Korea, and there was a lot of really good food content around. I remember you ate like kalguksu,
Yes.
and that's like what I remember as like vintage K-choy
Yeah.
on YouTube. But I might be wrong, but that's like what I remember as like as far back as my memory goes with your YouTube channel.
Okay. So technically, I posted my very first video in 2006. It was a video of the Side Street Strutters, which is like a
Oh,
jazz band at Disneyland. And so it was just like a little video clip of them.
that
So
doesn't
that's well,
count.
so that's technically the first video I
Okay.
posted. However, I think that's private now on my channel,
Hmm.
possibly. The first public video on my channel is from 2012. It's like a compilation video from when I studied abroad in undergrad. So
Oh,
that's the first of that. Like that's public. In terms of the Korea vlogs, those you were close, Christine. It was winter, so it was January 2013 because I graduated a semester early, and so I like extended my winter break and I spent a little bit more time in Korea before I went back to Berkeley. And like I still spent the second semester at Berkeley, and I just worked on campus.
mm.
You know, there's like multiple layers there.
Do you still have your covers up though? Because Christina is also a really good singer, and she used to post
There's
like
one, I
covers of
think.
songs
I do have
with like a
some, yeah.
ukulele or a
I
guitar.
do have
Yeah,
some. If you go digging, you'll find it.
go find some vintage
Ooh.
K-Boy.
Yep. All right. Megan, why don't you ask the next question?
Oh, okay. So the next question is, what does glue glue mean?
I think you told
Go.
me this before, but okay, but it might also be very funny if I'm wrong. I think glue glue is like the sound that comes out of the bottle when it's being poured. And it's like glue, 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 glue. Or Christina,
Yeah,
do you wanna?
yeah,
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say
yeah.
too.
Expand. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's both, I think they say it's both like the bottleneck, right? Of like the liquid exiting the bottleneck really quickly and making the sound. And then it's also like what what I think us in America we say gulp.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like the French, the French's version of gulp, and it usually is used for when a glass of wine or a bottle of wine is really like juicy, and that it's like so juicy that it's just like gluggable, like chuggable. A lot of people will use the term glue glue or glue to describe that.
I love
But
it.
what's a gloss? Is it like shiny gloss or is it like glossary?
It's like glossary.
Okay.
So her Instagram
Glue
is a
glue
glue
gloss.
glue glossary. What podcast featured Christine's chickpea 빈대떡 recipe on Dear Saturdays? Megan has like a blank look on her face.
So this isn't the first time Dear Saturdays made its way onto the podcast world. It's featured on a podcast before this one.
Or you can name
Is
the
it?
famous chef that's like connected to the podcast.
Oh, I,
You can do this. Think
don't
of like a
know.
famous Korean chef.
Who would cook 빈대떡?
David Chang.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, I knew this. I knew this. I knew
You
this, I
totally knew
think.
this. It was just stored in like
Hmm.
the back corner of your memory.
Yeah. But the podcast was called
Cool,
Recipe
cool.
Club, right?
Yep. And I have a soy allergy, and I made a recipe that doesn't use mung beans, which is like a little bit of like a brother to soybeans. And so I made this chickpea pindatalk recipe, and Recipe Club is basically like you use one ingredient to make a recipe. And so there's three people on the podcast, and they pick one recipe. And David Chang chose my recipe for chickpea pindatak. And I screamed and I vomited and I threw up my lunch because I
And then
was just so
pooped.
shocked that this was like real. And David Chang, out of David Chang's mouth came Dear Saturdays, and that was a really awesome highlight of Dear Saturdays.
So
Did he
cool.
do a good job?
I think so, but there was like a brownie recipe, I think that like won the
Mm,
episode. I also mistook like I didn't include green onions in like the actual recipe, but I mentioned it. So
Mm,
there was one where there's like one part of the episode where I was like, "Oh, damn it. Like they actually do really read super closely on the recipe."
that's on me
Um
as your editor.
Oh yeah, and Christina is also the editor. Christina majored in English
Unofficial
and
editor.
mine, yeah. So she every time I post a recipe or like a post, because I enjoy writing, but then Christina's always the one that's like, you could have phrased it in this way, or this is an incomplete sentence. And I'm very grateful for Christina's support for Dear Saturdays. That's how she shows me love.
But I missed the green
Yes,
onion part. I'm sorry.
that's okay. Next question. Christina and I had a blog in college. What was it called? Christina and I both know the name.
I
Megan, do
know.
you know? This is a really hard question.
This is like Megan in the hot seat, like this whole trivia thing.
I
Inadvertently,
know.
I'm sorry.
I didn't realize this was an attack. Hmm. Okay.
It's gonna be
Let's
hard.
see.
I don't know if we've ever mentioned it to you.
Okay. Two things come to mind. So the first thing is you guys said that there was something like scribbled on the wall. And so like when you have to like poop or something, somebody says this
Aloe
word.
husk.
hmm
Yeah. Okay, so it's obviously not that. Okay. So it's not code word for you have to poop.
Mm-mm.
And then the
But good
second
memory.
thing is like Megan and Christina have a name like that we made up for some reason. And when you say it, it's Magina.
That's our couple name, our ship
Magina?
name.
Get it? Magina?
Megina. Magina.
Magina.
Yeah. It's perfect. So I'm thinking like, is there a version of that
We have
that
basically the
works?
same name though, Christine and I.
You would not.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me
Okay,
to tell
what
you the
is it?
answer?
Yes,
So our
please.
blog was called Fifth Element. And it was, you would have never
Please
gotten
never
it.
look it up.
The tag, did you actually have the link to it? I didn't know
Yeah,
it
I
still
just linked it to you
existed.
guys.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Um,
anyway. Yeah, so it was like our junior or senior year of
it
college.
Yeah, so Christina
Oh
and I
my
were roommates in
God.
college, for everyone who doesn't know. And we wanted to create a blog where we wrote about the things that we experienced, like eating, recipes, fashion, DIY, all that good stuff. And
Yeah.
so we created this, we were like sitting in our room in like our twin beds facing each other. And we're like, what should we call this? I don't know how we came to this, but I was like, Fifth Element, it's happiness.
Yeah, because the fifth element is happiness.
This is so
Apparently.
cute.
And
Yeah.
so please never look this up for anyone who's listening, but there's just like OOTDs. Christina would go on the roof of our apartment and take pictures, and we were doing a lot of like fun, creative things, and we wanted to document that. So it's cute, and this is like when I say Christina's like 2016 videos are vintage, this is like
This is vintage.
vintage.
Chuggy.
I'm seeing a fashion isn't black and white. Saturday, August
My
25th, 2012.
Yeah. And you can read more
This
and you
is
can look at
gold.
our this is like Tumblr, like this
Yeah.
is the Tumblr era, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tumblr aesthetic.
Okay, last question. What year did Megan start Glue Glue Gloss? I don't even know the answer to that. Let me look it up.
I know like the month, I think, and the year.
Oh my God,
Oh,
Well,
dang.
wild.
I remember
See,
where I
was it in
was.
historian?
I remember
Hmm.
where I was when you told me about it.
What?
Maybe not. Maybe I'm conflating like two memories, but do you have a guess, Christine?
Something tells me that it was like before the pandemic.
Was it
Mm,
Christina?
I think it was like July 2020 or like June or it was like summer 2020.
Yeah, crazy.
damn. So it's not before the pandemic.
Because I remember we
Um,
were at Olivia's place. And I know that's where we like took some photos, and that's where we started like
yeah.
the glue gloss
I
aesthetic.
remember this.
Um,
I remember this.
and that was definitely during the pandemic because I was home in LA during the pandemic. But I remember when you were like, I started a wine Instagram. Like I remember you saying that, but I don't remember if it was at like Olivia's place in her backyard or if it was like a different time. But I remember clearly you going like, I started an Instagram and it was like called Glue Glue Gloss and I like followed it.
So shy.
I was like the second follower.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly what it was. That's so crazy. I don't even remember that. Okay. It was like I had posted 3 posts, right? Of these like 3 wines from Brock Cellars. And then we went to Olivia's parents' house. And we were like sitting there sipping on 2 bottles, and I was like taking photos. And then I was like, okay, I need to tell these girls that I'm like, why am I getting 75 angles of this one bottle of wine? And yeah, I did. I do remember like feeling kind of shy to share it because it wasn't, I wasn't like, I don't think I was planning to share it, but it like happened because obviously the wines were there. Oh my God, that is just crazy. How do you remember
And
these
then
things?
it's so funny because you were like, you just said you were kind of shy to share it. And then we immediately like spent like an hour taking photos with you,
Oh yeah.
like helping like get all the right angles. We like
Yeah,
had some
yeah, this is where
pickles.
this is. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
reading the captions of like your earlier post, and it was like
No.
another great light summer red. First photo taken by Christina Choi, art directed by me, made fun of by Olivia Kim.
Oh, Olivia.
Chateau Chatsworth. That's what you
Yes.
told me. I love that so
Yeah.
much.
Oh my
Yeah. So
gosh,
yeah,
so funny.
those were early like summer 2020 like pandemic days when we
Yeah,
were like doing outdoor picnics
crazy.
and social distancing but drinking wine.
And
Good
I think like one other
times.
thing that I like didn't mention is that because Miss Glue lost, we were able to go and travel to different parts of the world and enjoy wine and learn about wine together. So I think without your interest in wine and your love of drinking good wine, we wouldn't have been able to have the experiences that we were able to have, like going to the Loire Valley or um, going to different wineries in Berkeley. So I think that like it's really awesome that we've been able to just join in on the fun of Glue Glue Gloss
Yeah.
in this kind of way.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
love
okay,
that.
honestly, wow, that was a sound that exited my body, such a weird way. But what I wanted to say was it's also because like of all of your guys's content creation as well, because like it's kind of interesting, like we all 3 of us have different things that like we kind of focus on or like feature, but they're all kind of related. So it really works out. And like, I think we enable each other in a good way when we're together, when we're
Yeah.
together, and when we plan trips where we can all find the things that we love and it all kind of works out in a nice way.
Yeah.
So
Cheers to that.
cheers.
Cheers. And let's go to round
Cheers.
two. I don't know if it's the wine or if it's because it's past midnight here in New York, but like, wow, I'm just
Feeling the
feeling the love.
love.
Let's get a little bit deeper. That trivia was fun though. I hope you guys enjoyed. So what has been the best slash worst experience so far in relation to, creating content? So, for example, for me, I think the best thing, I mean, what we just talked about is amazing. So, that is also a great thing, just like having friends who also create content. I've also met people through creating content. So, I've made friends via YouTube, which is really great. And I think also just when I get messages from people who say that my videos have helped them or that they feel motivated or inspired by things that I share, that's always nice. I think worst experience, I mean, to be honest, I don't think I've had like too many bad experiences. I posted a video once where I talked about like the reasons that I don't miss London. So it was after I had left grad school, I moved back to the States. I love London, like with all my heart. I would move back there again, like if I ever had the opportunity. But there are always going to be things that you don't like about a place as well. Like I could say the same for New York and LA. So I made a video where I talked a bit about that kind of stuff about London. And yeah, just the ignorant and racist like comments that I got on that video was like the first time I ever got like any type of negative feedback in that volume. So that was interesting. And then the more people comment, it like shows up more on people's feeds, which is just the way like the YouTube algorithm works. And then it just like starts targeting like the same type of people who would like have those same thought processes and stuff. So it was a good lesson in the algorithm. But the good thing about it was that it upped the engagement of that video and I got a lot of views and a lot of AdSense money from it. So there's always a bright side to things.
One of the things that I love about creating content is that I get to channel my creativity. I'm very confident that we've all been born with like the ability to create things and to be able to channel that gift and that talent into something that is Dear Saturdays and my love of food and my love of eating and just exploring and being able to have a channel or like an outlet for that has been really rewarding. Every time I cook a recipe or develop a recipe, every time I decorate my apartment, or just the whole entire like end-to-end process has been really fulfilling for me because it uses different elements of like being able to use my hands and then like to take photos and then to write about it and then to publish it. That whole like journey is very, very fun for me. I feel very lucky to be able to have the ability to do something like that. I know that some people don't have time or resources or the space to produce or to they don't have the space to channel their creativity in the ways that I have been able to do with Dear Saturdays. So I really appreciate that. The worst experience in relation to creating content has been like the mental war that goes on between is this appropriate or is it not? And I think that while we were in the pandemic, I still had this like creative itch to create things, but I felt that it was very inappropriate given all of the like things that were going on in the world, and it just felt very inappropriate to while there was so much going on in the world that I wanted to cook something and then like put it out in the way that I used to in the past. Just like finding that balance has been the worst experience for me so far because there is real life outside of the content that you put out there. And I think that like that balance has, or striking the right balance between the two has been like the worst experience for me for the past few years. Yeah. Dang, I didn't mean to like channel it in that direction. Maybe I could change my answer. I don't know.
No, I
No,
relate
I
to
feel
that.
like that.
Yeah.
This is something also that I was like trained to think about when I worked in PR as well, is like
Hmm.
there's like a world event that happens and so you need to change like let's say you had a press release that was going out on a certain day to like announce the launch
Hmm.
of like XYZ. But then some like crazy thing happened in the world. It's like you gotta like change that approach because yeah, it's like what's appropriate like given the things that are happening
Yeah.
in the world. But when it comes to like, creating personal content, like it's just so tricky because it's like tied to you as a human, but like it's also just like your outlet for creativity and like the world needs art too, like even when there's
Yeah.
crazy shit happening. But yeah, it's so nuanced, you know?
Yeah, I think that was like the hardest part is that like I didn't want my creative outlet to take up space in like such a critical moment when people were just like a lot of great debate was happening, or different types of events needed to take up space in like people's feeds. So the draw to put something out into the world feels a little bit more like relaxed now. But I think during the pandemic, it was really, really hard because of just all of the things that we were being bombarded with, like with real life, like hard shit to like process. But anyways, that was my little rant on the worst experience in creating content.
Well, a question here would be, what is your favorite recipe?
I think my favorite recipe that I always come back to is this takjim. And takjim is these chicken drumsticks that are simmered in this soy braised with vegetables. And this is something that like my mom used to make all the time when I was younger. And it has just these like really familiar, comforting flavors that you pour onto like a warm bowl of rice, and it just feels like a really nice hug to your intestines. So I like share that with everyone. And anytime someone asks me like, what is your go-to recipe for Dear Saturdays? It's like this takjim that my mom used to make with like carrots and like root vegetables, and it's really delicious.
We told you you can't go to Dear Saturdays if you're hungry.
Yeah, damn. I made the rookie mistake of asking.
But we have this delicious cheap bowl, so all good.
Yes.
We're nibbling on this dried fish jerky. How about you, Megan? Let's take a positive. I'm just kidding.
Oh
Megan,
man.
what has been like your best and worst experience with creating content for Glue Glue Gloss?
I mean, the best is easy. Like I get to drink this amazing wine. And I get to be critical, like not in a bad way, like to criticize the wine, but more so like I get to kind of be intentional about like what I'm drinking and how I'm feeling when I'm drinking it. And so it kind of creates this space for me. Yeah, I mean, I would also but echo kind of what you were saying, Christine, where like I don't have like my day job is not necessarily, creative, or it's not like a creative job. And so when I do things for Glue Gloss, like it's really fun because I get to kind of bring that out, and some, yeah, like basically something that lies kind of dormant for 8 hours during the day kind of comes out, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really fun. I mean, I'm really lucky. Like I didn't have any bad experiences. I think it's more just a hard experience. Well, for one, I'm one person drinking all this wine. So
It's
a lot of
so
the time,
hard to drink all this wine. No, I understand
such
what you're
a
saying.
selfish
Your job is to drink.
stuff.
Your hobby is drinking
Like you want to drink
wine.
more wine and create more content, but like how
Yes.
can you drink all that wine?
There's a
It's
limit.
just so hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
that that's a hard one. And then also like a kind of a hard experience is a lot of the wines that I'm drinking are like these small producers that like you can tell that they put their like sweat, blood, and tears into making this wine. And
Mm.
so a lot of the times, like let's say I drink a wine and I don't like it because maybe my palate just doesn't fit it, or like for whatever reason, like I don't like it. I don't end up sharing. And or like I have to think of different ways to like talk about the wine without being too critical, because I know that this is like someone's baby, right? Like they created
Yeah.
this, and who am I to sit there and say, "Oh, this doesn't taste good," or "This tastes like this or that." But I still want to like help feature the wine, or like help feature the producer, because let's say I learn about this producer or whatever the case may be. So I think that's kind of tough, but also because then I'm juggling like the authenticity, right, of like what I'm sharing. So I wouldn't say that, a wine tastes good when it tastes bad, but maybe like I have to try and find ways to be critical without being critical, if that
Yeah.
makes
Or
sense.
like be more like
Mm.
objective or like,
Exactly. A lot of it too, I think, is like it's not just like the taste of the wine, it's like where you are as well, right? Like who you're with, like what experience you're having. And so I think that really like shapes the way that something tastes too. And so I think like I was doing a little bit of that where I was like objectively describing the notes in the wine or like the notes in that type of varietal, like grape varietal, explaining like the situation, and I was like talking a lot about the producer, but I wasn't necessarily saying, "Ooh, this is good or great or juicy" or whatever,
Oh my
adjectives that I
gosh.
use.
I was
Please
like
don't
thinking
go
it would have
digging.
been, I thought like maybe it would have been like, this wine is briny and salty and very high in acidity and tastes like old socks.
well, there was one where when Megan and Olivia and I went to Joshua Tree for like a
Hmm.
weekend, and we literally drank like 13 bottles of wine or something in a
No, that
weekend.
was
Right.
ridiculous.
Yeah, but there was one that like tasted really salty, and I think like you used like Olivia and I like took notes of like some of the wines so that we were like Megan's interns. And then one of them we were like, it tasted like licking a Himalayan salt lamp.
So
I
good
feel like we should
positive
do
ways
that
to
with some of
spin
the
it.
wines. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are we ready for round tres?
Yeah, let's do round three. I'm gonna do a
Hmm. I think so.
little glue glue.
A little extra pour. I'm gonna do a little
Or
bit as well.
All right, round three.
Yeah.
Samcha. Cheers.
samcha, cheers.
All right, so my question for you ladies is how has creating content changed the way you use or view social media?
One thing that I've learned is that a lot of what you see is not real life. It's all like something that is planned. It's something that has been thought through, and it's not maybe some of like the content creators that you follow, or even just like the people in your day-to-day life, like try to replicate like an image of real life, but there is still this curation and like manufacturing of what is real life. So every time I see something, you really don't know what's going on in that person's real life or what goes on behind the scenes. So I think that that's something that you should be aware of as you're consuming content, is that there is that level of like manicuring real life, and to be also like gracious to the people who are creating content, because most of what you're consuming is free and they are working to put this content out. So even if you feel like being critical or judgmental towards people who are creating content, they are taking their time out of their day, their lives to put that out into the world and share it with you.
Yeah, I feel like people start to feel like they're like owed things by content
Hmm.
creators, and then like on the point of like things being like manicured and curated, like I've been addicted to TikTok, since 2020. But like I am always like trained now to be like that thing's fake. Like this is a fake video, or like people put out so many like
Yeah.
fake things out there. So you have to be really careful because people can make things look very real. What even like as far as like deep fakes where like people put like other people's faces and stuff. It's intense.
Yeah. Or your perception of reality and like what is real life, once you start getting into that space where it's like it looks like it's real life, but it's not. Why am I like saying such sad
No, it's
It's good. It's
good.
good.
I was
Yeah,
saying these like
it's
really dark
good.
things about social media, but I think that there's also like really great things about it too. So maybe I should start saying some good things about
I
it.
feel like most of it is bad. Like
Do you
like
think so?
I mean, well, I think mostly it's bad. like if you, of course, if you want to pull the good out of it, like there's always, there's like the community aspect, there's the connection to somebody that you maybe would have never connected with because of your physical constraints. So there's like some positives in that way, but I think, I think like even the science, like the data speaks for itself. Like I think most of it is negative, but there is a sense of, maybe Christina is a little bit different because you are, sometimes you'll like vlog your day, right? So it's like literally, you're in your home and you're sharing what you do, maybe minute by minute or hour by hour or whatever you choose to capture. And so that's tough. But I think in speaking with the other content, like maybe the content about consulting, or like Christine about the food and me about the wine, like it's not, the content isn't like us. What I mean by that is like, it's not like, it's not based on like my personality, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So like when someone leaves a comment about like, oh, that picture was stupid, or like, let's just say that that was a comment. It's not about like you. Like they're not saying, oh, you're stupid. They're just saying the thing that you created is stupid. Whereas like I'm thinking about people like Emma Chamberlain, right?
We
Who
should count how
literally
many times we
posts,
mention Emma Chamberlain in our
I know,
podcast.
which
We love Emma
she
Chamberlain.
literally posts, we love.
We
I
do.
love this girl. Like she literally posts like her, like it's just like all her content is about exactly who she is as a human
Hmm.
being. And so when there's a comment, I could imagine it being like, oh wait, this person like hates me as a human.
Yeah, it's like it's really hard to create content and it's really hard to put yourself out there, but then it's really easy for someone to hate on you.
Dang. Has social media changed your life in like a positive way, or like when Christina talks about TikTok, she's on fire and we're always laughing and we're always, it's like there's so much comedic value to the TikToks that Christina like that is in Christina's feed. So I think like I'm curious in terms of the way that you use social media. Has there been like positive effects in your life despite everything has pros and cons, but like what are some like
Mhm.
positives about social media?
Yes, I love TikTok. Huge TikTok fan here. Um, um, Also, Megan and I both really enjoy Whitney Port's YouTube videos.
Ugh, love.
Mm.
So Whitney Port, aka, star of The City, and she was on The Hills. She and her husband Timmy do reaction videos, and they started out with The City, then they reacted to all the seasons of The Hills, then Laguna Beach. Now they're on Siesta Key, which is another MTV reality show.
So good.
Yeah, but Megan and I love it. Megan introduced the series to me, which they started in 2020. So yeah, there was like a lot of bad things in 2020, but I think it also inspired people to create things, including Glue Glue Gloss. So
That's right. It's crazy because the natural wine scene is pretty small. Like it's big as in it spans like many countries, and many people know about it at this point. And like I'm originally from LA, so like in LA it's like the only thing that people drink and whatever. But it's still like quite small. The people who create content around it. So it's kind of fun to just like be part of a community in like an odd way, like on your phone and on your computer.
Yeah.
And like when other people like reshare certain things or repost things, or when they reach out and like when they reach out to me when I have, less than 1,000 followers, and they want to like send me wine, or they want to like partner with me, and like gives me a code or something, I'm just like, my mind gets blown because I'm such a small, what is it? Like I'm such a small page. Yeah, like it's been really fun kind of meeting people on the internet. And like kind of being in this small little community in the corner of the interwebs. So that's pretty fun.
I really, the like best things that I got out of social media is like the fun and cute things that like people of like notoriety will say to people in their lives. And so just to get like a glimpse of what it's like in their world to feel what they feel towards a person. So like one example that comes to mind is like the Obamas, right? Like Michelle and Barack Obama, when they write like anniversary or birthday notes to each other, it's like the cutest thing. And I think that like without social media, we wouldn't have had like a glimpse into the way that they feel about each other or these like throwback photos. And maybe we could have like if I like bought their autobiography, but what they wanted to say to that person in their life at that moment and to be able to like celebrate that moment with them has been one of my favorite things. I'm like a big old sappy person when it comes to like birthday and like anniversary memos.
Oh, what Christina is the historian, but Christine
Mhm.
is the romantic.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. And also it's like when Christina like posts about like she's coming up on like a really big anniversary, right? This year? Was it
What?
like 10 years with
Oh, yeah.
Jane?
In December, we'll have been dating
Yeah.
for 10 years. Yeah.
10?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So it's like
God.
when I see these like anniversary notes, I'm like, I can't believe it's for 10 years. I can't believe that, it's this person's birthday.
Christine
So
was there at the beginning.
I sure
Crazy.
was.
And thanks to
And
social
that was like
media,
pre-social media
well, but
too.
thanks to Facebook, we have a photo. We have photos.
I'll share those photos too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another positive thing is I would remember 0 people's birthdays
That's
if it isn't
true.
for those Facebook emails.
Yeah.
Yeah. For like notifications, like the notification game
hmm
is strong on
hmm
social media.
We're aging ourselves with our references to Facebook.
Oh, you want to talk about MySpace and Zynga?
Tumblr.
What are those? No idea what those are.
Well,
All right.
this was so lovely, as always.
As always.
The wine
So
was
good.
delicious, by the
So
way.
good. Oh,
So glue
it's
glue.
dangerous. Very,
Thank you,
very
Miss
glue.
Yeah,
Glue.
it's a Monday night that we're recording
You're
this.
very welcome.
And it's like 1 in the morning.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you guys, it's so late for you guys. It's only 10 for me.
All right, well,
Okay.
cheers.
Cheers. At 1 in the morning, we're drinking wine, talking about our
Woo.
feelings about social media.
And speaking of social media, follow us at Samcha Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Go to samchapodcast.com. Email us, samchapodcast@gmail.com. We are all over the internet, so, I mean, well, not all over,
We are
you
all
know.
over social media.
Find us.
But we'll try to keep it as real as possible. And it's good. It's a good way to keep in touch with you, whoever is listening out there. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.